all this crazy weather, and I have a tournament this week. I've got a frog, swim jig, and a deep crake tied on. This forecast is going to hurt a little. This is one of the busiest weeks we've had all season. Severe storms, gusty winds, and 3 major tournaments. And you need a different plan depending on where you're fishing. Welcome back to Bass Prediction Center, where we're tracking weather, seasonal patterns, and tournament trends to help you catch more and bigger fish. Let's go. All right, welcome back, guys. This is the kind of map I was dreaming about back in February when I started this channel. We've got all sections of the spawn going on. You got pre-spawn all the way to the Canadian border. The spawn zone is encompassing most of the nation. You got fish spawning in northern Texas all the way to southern South Dakota, all the way to the northwest, from California to the East Coast. It's a great time to be fishing right now. Post-spawn, a little slim section here that is fully post-spawn. And then that summer pattern's creeping right up from Florida and South Texas. And before you know it, you're going to be throwing crankbaits on shell beds. So right now, we have 3 major tournaments this week. I hate when they overlap them like this, especially, at the higher levels. Obviously, my tournament doesn't affect that. But Bass Pro Tour has their Heavy Hitters event, which is a super fun event to watch. They pay out big money for giant bass. Matt Steffen's going to be fishing in this one because he qualified from last year, so that's pretty cool. Super excited to watch that, and that is taking place on Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia, full of big giant bass. Should be a really good tournament. And then the Bassmaster tournament on the Sabine River is this week. Super fun tournament to watch if you don't like forward-facing sonar. They have a ton of flooded waters. It's a river system, a delta system, so they can go miles and miles up these rivers and catch a ton of bass. It's not going to be huge bags, but they're going to catch a lot of awesome fish, a lot of flipping, spinnerbaits, things like that. And then last but not least, my second tournament of the year is happening on Cedar Bluff Reservoir. I'm fishing Saturday. You can go to siltedwaterbass.com. If you're in the area, feel free to join us and fish. It's a really fun tournament trail. A lot of hammers in it. As you guys know, I zeroed in my last tournament, so we're hoping to change things around this tournament. Definitely shouldn't zero. This place is full of big bass. I'm going to need probably at least 20 pounds to win this thing. So I'll let you guys know next week with a tournament breakdown how it went, but looking forward to this one. We have some severe weather over the next few days we need to look at first, so everybody can be safe out there. From Nebraska all the way to North Dakota, we have this slight risk, and there is a tornado risk involved in this of 5% right in the middle of the state. And this is happening right now. Storms are firing up, so if you're in these areas, definitely watch out. Don't want to be in the water in these areas. The rest of the country looking good as far as that's concerned for severe weather. Day 2, this moves to the east, and you're looking at an enhanced risk in Wisconsin and Michigan, and there's a big tornado threat here, a 10% hashed area here in Wisconsin. So if you're in this area, definitely watch out tomorrow. If you're planning on fishing tomorrow evening, you need to be safe and really keep an eye on the weather on this one. Have your weather radios turned on. And then on Friday, this moves a little bit south and east. Southern Illinois, southern Indiana, eastern Missouri, you're in that enhanced risk. Too early to have a tornado specific threat, but they do have a wind and hail probability here for severe weather. Probably going to be a tornado threat in these areas too, so be very safe if you're in these areas on Friday. All the way from the East Coast to Texas, there is risk of severe weather on Friday. All right, looking at the rest of our weekend weather, we'll start with our precipitation here. We do have this low pressure system that is bringing these storms that's sitting right over the middle of Nebraska right here. Has some showers and thunderstorms out east and a little bit of snow in the mountains and some rain up here in Montana for today. The rest of Thursday, this low pressure system is going to sit here and spin, kick off some storms like we talked about for the severe weather. The rest of the country looks pretty dry, nothing too bad. And then Friday, kind of more of the same, exactly where we told you these storms are going to fire here in the Midwest and bring some severe weather for sure, probably some tornadoes, winds, hail. If you're in these areas, be very safe. Have your weather plan in place for sure in those areas. And then as we move towards the weekend, got another low pressure system forming right here as of right now. This could change for sure. We'll talk about it more in our weekend forecast. Some severe weather along the Gulf Coast here. A little bit of rain here in the northwest. And then on Sunday, nothing too terrible. This low is just going to kind of sit here and spin. But otherwise pretty dry in most areas. You might have some storms up here in Montana and or Wyoming, but that is some much needed rain up there. Looking at winds for the week, around this low pressure system, definitely going to have some higher winds. North Dakota, South Dakota today and tomorrow. Friday, that's going to move east and bring the winds with it. The rest of the country looking pretty calm, 5 to 10 miles an hour almost everywhere. But around that low, obviously going to be windy as heck. Saturday, some winds in the southwest here. Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. If you're fishing in any of these areas, just watch out. Make sure you have your life jackets on, your kill switches engaged. And then on Sunday, this low kind of moves in from the east, and it's going to bring some winds here in the Great Plains from south to north, and in Montana and all throughout Colorado in the southwest. So gusty winds for sure on Sunday. All right, looking at our high temperatures for the week. Thursday, the highs are really nice here on the east, from the Great Plains east. You're looking at almost 80 degrees almost everywhere, up to 90 degrees in some areas, 100 degrees in South Texas. And then California in the southwest is looking pretty comfortable in the 80s. And then 60s and 70s all up into here, and then the mountains obviously cooler. On Friday, more of the same basically. This low pressure is going to bring a little bit of cool air down from Canada into the Dakotas, but the rest of the country is still sitting very warm in the 80s and 90s here. The west coast, more of the same, up to 80 degrees in parts of California. On Saturday, very similar picture again. More cold air with this low pressure system sitting here, warming up more in the southwest, some 90s and 100-degree weather here, and then 90 to 100 degrees all the way from Missouri, Tennessee, south to Dixie Alley. Very warm weather, 70s and 80s in Kansas. And then on Saturday, or Sunday as of right now, more of the same cool air around the Great Lakes, and then warming up in the west, and then warm air all the way from New Hampshire and Vermont south to Texas, up to 100 and some degrees in South Texas. Very warm right now, so if you're out there, make sure you guys got your sunblock on, because it's going to be a hot one for sure in those areas. All right, possible total rainfall through Sunday night at midnight. Where these storms are sitting right now, you're definitely going to receive a ton of rain in the Dakotas, which is actually much needed. 3 to 4 inches in a lot of areas, so there's going to be some flooding happening along the Missouri River probably, especially in the creeks and backwaters. Little areas here where these storms are going to hit later this week, you might see up to 3 or 4 inches in some areas of Ohio, and maybe even Indiana. The rest of the country looking pretty good. Here along the Louisiana-Arkansas border, maybe 2 or 3 inches. But the rest of the country getting some much-needed rain. Nebraska, hopefully we can squeeze some rain out of this. Southwest Nebraska still looking pretty dry. Still haven't seen much rain this year, so we're hoping and praying.
The St. Croix Bassmaster.
All right, guys, wanted to shout out Tucker Smith, who won the Elite Series here at Lake Fork. Was a really awesome tournament. He had 127 pounds and 8 ounces, which is absolutely nuts. Bunch of 30-pound bags, close to 40-pound bags in this tournament. Trey McKinney hammered like a 40-pound bag on the last day. This guy's a hammer. Look at all these young guys here. All scopers. I know a lot of guys hate scope, but they're catching fish with it. The whole top 10 had over 100 pounds, so really fun tournament. A lot of big fish caught. And for those of you that don't like the scope, this is a tournament to watch. This is the Bassmaster Elite at the Sabine River. I've even seen some guys say if they win this thing on scope, they're going to quit watching Bassmaster Elite and cancel their memberships. So hopefully somebody like Jason Christie, John Cox wins this thing in the grass, in the bushes. They do have high water right now. I heard rumors of them possibly canceling, but I don't think that's going to happen. Well, postponing. Should be a really fun tournament. Like I said, the weights aren't huge here, but a lot of fun fish. You'll catch a 4-pounder here and there. Should be a really fun tournament and a classic one for the ages. All right, MLF is fishing the Smith Mountain Lake for the heavy hitters tournament. And if you guys haven't watched this before, it's actually really cool. This is all about catching big fish. The limits itself don't matter. They're paying out money to the biggest fish caught. $100,000 for some of these fish, so any cast can make a difference. Super fun tournament to watch. Stream it live at MLF.com. Looking for Matt Steffen to do really well in this thing. Excited that he gets to fish it, so watch it on MLF. All right, guys, and the tournament I'm fishing this Saturday is on May 17th, Cedar Bluff Reservoir in Kansas. This is a smaller lake, but loaded with big fish. A lot of 24 to 28-pound bags have come out of this thing. It's full of timber, a little bit of grass. The water's decently clear for the area. We haven't received any rain. It's low water, so a lot of rock in this thing too. I fished it one time last November, caught about 1 keeper, so that should be pretty awesome. I have a pretty good plan going in this thing. Super excited for it. Going to be fishing it with my son Caden. Looking to do very well. Perfect timing on this thing. Should be finishing up the spawn, post-spawn event, so maybe a shad spawn. So check out siltedwaterbass.com if you guys are interested in fishing. If you're in the Kansas, Nebraska area, even Colorado, drive over to this thing and fish. It has a decent payout, $130 entry fee. Check it out on siltedwaterbass.com. Fish absolutely love that.
Oh my gosh!
Guys, today's tip has to do with fishing highly pressured small waters, such as your local golf course pond or a pond that's just around the corner. The area that we live in, there's no big water nearby, so you have to drive at least an hour to find a big lake. And today we're going to talk about what you can get out there and do to catch a few fish on your local pond. So first thing I want to talk about is angles. You got to find some unique angles. Everybody's going around from the bank. They're casting straight out from the bank, perpendicular, and the fish are getting used to seeing that. One thing I used to do when I was a kid is I'd wade out in the water and cast along the shore, or wade clear out in the water and cast back towards the shore. That's something that the fish aren't used to seeing in these areas. Or if you can cast farther than everybody and get across the lake completely, the fish see the bait coming from a different direction, you can catch a lot more fish that way. Change up what they're seeing, it's something they're not used to. Another thing you can do is you can vary your retrieve speed. Most everybody, if you watch somebody fish, they fish either basically the same speed, just a nice crank of the reel. Go super fast, faster than you think is even possible for a fish to catch, but I promise you can't reel faster than a bass can swim. So super fast or slow down a lot. Really work that thing along the bottom, especially like a spinnerbait, slow roll it along the bottom, as long as there's not too much moss. Another thing you can do is dead stick your bait. Say you have a stick bait like this. Cast it out, let it sink, literally just let it sit there for 10, 12 seconds. Sometimes that's all it takes. I was fishing in a tournament in Texas one time. The fish would only eat the bait if you cast it out there and just let it sit. It was like fishing with a bobber and a worm, but hey, it worked and it caught fish. The last thing that I'm going to tell you to do is either downsize or go big. Go to Ned rigs. Those are very small, but if you want to go even smaller, crappie jigs. I've caught one of my biggest bass ever on a little tiny crappie tube jig. Those things work fantastic. People don't use them for bass, and they can catch you a ton of fish. Another way you can do is go big. Get yourself a big glide bait. Get yourself a big swim bait. Cast that thing around. Most people aren't throwing those things, especially on small waters, and they can help you catch bigger fish. Guys, that's Fish to Forecast. I hope it helps. Check it out. This weekend we'll have another one coming up. Sorry, window don't roll down. Anyways, yeah, I've been fishing. Ain't caught nothing, but I saw a bass blow up on something over on the lake. Probably just fighting a turtle. I threw out a piece of worm and some pepperoni. Didn't get a bite. I think I was close though. Think I'll just go back to catfishing. This has been Gooner, signing out. And thank you, Gooner. You always seem to be right on the winning pattern. Anyway, welcome to the Beyond Braid Baits of the Week. This is the favorite segment of everybody that watches the channel. This is brought to you by Beyond Braid. Go to beyondbraid.com and get 10% off with code BPC10 on any of their products. Some of the best braided line on the market, and they have awesome tackle boxes too. So check them out at beyondbraid.com. Prespawn areas this week, there's a familiar bait here. It's the Slackline Jigs, hand-painted, hand-tied jig. You get him over there on Facebook at Slackline Jigs. He's got some awesome products. Some of the best bluegill-looking jigs on the market. I'm pairing this with the new Crud Craw from Berkeley. This is awesome Craw, flap and craw package you're getting, but it's that very nice MaxScent, which everybody loves. You know the bass love it too. Spawn areas, I'm going to throw one of my favorite frogs is a Bronzeye Poppin frog, walking it over the top of beds and getting those females to blow up on it because they think something's intruding. So Spro Bronzeye Poppin frog is a classic spawn bait. Get yourself one if you don't have one already. Postspawn areas, I'm going to be throwing this 6 cents flush, and I'm going to throw that on a core tackle Scamper rig. Gives you an open hook presentation. If you're in some super thick cover, obviously you're going to want to Texas rig this thing, but if you can get away with a Scamper rig, it's the way to go. It has the weight inserted in the middle of the fish here so that you get a totally different action than you get normally with flukes. You can almost just reel it and it gets a nice vibration. I've got this tied up for my tournament this weekend, and it's going to catch some giants. I know it. Summer areas, I'm going to be throwing 6 cents 400 DD out on deep ledges and shell beds. You find those big schools of fish that looks like spaghetti on your fish finder. Throw this thing, it dives down to like 25 feet. Has a little bit subtler action than their 500 to 300 DD, but it catches the fire out of them. So check it out over at 6cents.com if you want to pick up the flush or the 400 DD, and coretackle.com to pick up this new Scamper rig. That's the Beyond Braid Baits of the Week, guys. Check them out, beyondbraid.com. Use code BPC10 at checkout for 10% off any item. And that is your BPC Weekly Forecast, guys. We're going to announce the winner of the 500 subscriber giveaway on the weekend update. I forgot to do that, so we have storms midweek, wind everywhere, and one of the most important tournament weekends of the year with my tournament and 2 other major tournaments going on. Make sure you drop a comment below with which tournament you guys are going to be watching. Check us out on siltedwaterbass.com if you want to see how we do. Charlie will post it up on Facebook or on the web page. And where are you guys fishing this week? Let us know. We'll feature it in a future video. So like, follow, and subscribe, and I'll see you this weekend for the weekend update on Friday, guys. Thanks for watching.